Good morning, good morning. It is Saturday, the 28th of December, 2024. You are watching Morning Brew on Labour Social. Now, I'm going to tell you now that I do have a cold, so I might be stopping occasionally to get my handy-andies out and give my nose a blow. If I do that, I will be turning off the microphone, which I'm going to do right now. Okay, so just bear with me a moment. Sexy, I know. Anyway, right. So big shout out to Billy and Katrina in the chat, and also Gareth T and Capitan. How you doing? If you'd like to join them, all you need to do is hit that subscribe button, and you will have to wait a minute, and then you can add what you think. Now, this is going to be a contentious one, I think, because we're going to be talking about cancer, which no one wants to talk about it, which is understandable. So I'll start off from where I stand in my life, my relationship with cancer. I have known quite a few people who have had cancer, quite a few people who have had it and successfully had it taken away, and some people who haven't. My grandmother died of lung cancer. My sister died of cervical cancer. So, not fun. Not a fun conversation to have at the best of times. But the reason why I want to talk about this is our friend of the channel, Mike Dix, who was on the show last night, who draws the Trumpton cartoons. He has anal cancer. He has bottom cancer, bum cancer, arse cancer. And he is undergoing treatment for that next week. And it's serious. It's really, really serious. Now, he put on a post earlier this week in response to the headline on the Mail. Of course, it was going to be the Mail, which said, "Kate is an inspiration to all cancer patients." To which Mike bristled a little bit because he's like, "Well, I'm a cancer patient, and she's not an inspiration to me." And he wrote this. He wrote, "Kate is an inspiration to all cancer patients, except me. She won't tell us what cancer she has. My guess is it's anal cancer, like mine. She won't tell us the symptoms that led to the diagnosis, so nobody benefits from an early diagnosis. I imagine we're supposed to be inspired by her continuing to work, but most of us have to do more than open fates to keep a roof over our heads. The only inspiration I can take is that perhaps one day I might marry a bald rich man." To which I replied, I'm not rich, but I am going bald. So yeah, with Mike and with other friends and relatives who have had cancer in the past, there's always a sense of gallows humour that sort of follows it around because it kind of has to. But I think that Mike has really hit the nail on the head here of the problem with the way that the royal stories about cancer have been put forward. First of all, remember, there was the weird period when there were photographs being sent out that were clearly photoshopped. No one knew where Kate was. Rumours spread like wildfire. It was all a bit weird, and then we were made to feel really bad about making fun of the bad Photoshop because it turned out that Kate had cancer. And obviously, when we learn that people have cancer, our natural empathy kicks in and we go, "Oh my God, that's so sad. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, not even my worst enemy." And yeah, in the last 8, 9, 10 months since then, they could have done, both King Charles and Princess Kate could have done a lot more for people with cancer or people who might have cancer. In that, the early diagnosis thing that Mike looked at, he's completely on the money with that. You saw when Kylie Minogue revealed that she had breast cancer, the number of breast cancer screenings amongst women in their 40s and 50s went up. But because we don't know what specific type of cancer Kate and Charles have, we don't know what to look for. And in Mike's case, it's blood in your stool, right? People need to know that. People need to check it. People like me who have got fucking red-brown colour blindness, like if I shat blood, I wouldn't be able to tell. I honestly wouldn't be able to tell very well. I guess the water would be different. I don't know. I really don't know. I might have to get someone in to look at me poo and go, is that all right? So I might not notice for a while. But if I'm not checking and I leave it for X many months, that can put me in a more precarious situation when the cancer does get diagnosed. Because obviously with cancer, and more so than with anything else pretty much in life, an early diagnosis can be a lifesaver. And so if Kate was saying, I have pancreatic cancer, I have lung cancer, I have whatever cancer it is, and these were the symptoms, and this is why I went and got scanned, this is why I went and got tested, that would really help. And you look at someone like Chris Hoy, who is going through this cancer journey, who's been very open about it and is actually helping people with cancer. And I don't think that this royal story is. And I know you're going to be watching this thinking, Graham, why are you having a pop at people with cancer, even if they are royal? I get that, yeah, and I understand that some people might be angry that I'm even saying this, I'm even broaching the subject. However, it is a bit galling when you get other celebrities who share their cancer journey and that helps people. You have two of the most famous people in Britain, if not the world, and they could be doing a lot more good than they're actually doing, and fawning over them in the tabloid press. I don't think it's helping. I don't think it's helping anyone with cancer, and it's not helping anyone prevent, getting cancer or getting to a point where, it might be a case where she did something that triggered a cancer. It can happen. It's not very likely, but, and say, don't do this. Don't eat this bloody processed food. Don't eat this. Whatever it was, at least she could share that with us and he could share with us. And yes, people have a right to keep their private lives private and their illnesses private. I get that. I completely get that. However, these aren't private people. These are people who are in the public eye. In Kate's case, it was a choice. You could argue that King Charles didn't have a choice. He was born into the role. But at the same time, I'd still be just as sympathetic. I really would. Okay, I'm not saying that either of them deserve this. They definitely, absolutely do not. And I want to make that very clear. But they could be doing more good than they are. That is the stance that Mike has, and that is the stance that I have. And Mike's clearly saying, someone with cancer saying, you're not helping. You're not helping. You could help, but you're choosing not to for whatever reason. And what is the reason? Is it embarrassment? Is it because a long-standing tradition that we don't talk about royal illnesses? There's a thing that Boris Johnson put out that the late Queen, had cancer, and that nobody talked about it because royal illnesses aren't talked about. I'm guessing that dates back to the 1500s, where the King's touch could save people from leprosy and things like that. And they couldn't get ill. Those days are over. And I'm not demanding or anything. I'm just saying it would be nice. That's it. That's all I'm saying is it would be nice if they would have shared more of their journey, where, how they got to where they are today, not in life, but on their cancer journey, or as Mike put his cancer kidnapping. And I know it's a rough thing to go through, and I know that they probably don't want to share the private details of, their cancer treatment, but it would help. It would help if we knew what kind of cancer they had and what symptoms led to it and what treatment they're getting for that particular thing. We know that Kate had chemotherapy over the summer, and I'd like to know a bit more about it, because one day I might have to have chemotherapy. And if it was absolutely awful, I need to steel myself for it. If it was all right, surprisingly, I'd like to know that, just to give myself a little bit of comfort, and comfort to friends of mine who are undergoing the same treatment, family members. So that's my stance on this. And obviously, we've got to be quite, careful in the way that we talk about this, because we don't upset anyone. But yeah, that's my stance. I'll go into the chat now. Morning all. Billy Kershaw saying Mike Dick's top top Bond villain. He does look a bit like a Bond villain, yeah. Gareth T. Gareth T says it killed my mum. I'm really sorry to hear that, mate. Mum had breast cancer, which returned in her liver. 10 years since I lost my mum. Same week my wife walked out on me. It nearly drove me to suicide. Not told anyone that before. I'm so sorry, Gareth. That is so shit. That is a lot. That is a fucking lot. In the same week, man. I'm glad you're still here. I'm glad you're still with us, mate. Because, we need more people like you. We need fewer people like Murdoch and fewer people like Musk, fewer people like Farage. I don't want to live in a world in which friends of mine aren't here, but Murdoch is. It just drives me up the wall. This is why I'm actually in favour of R&D, especially now such as this. There's one angry pagan. Ruth says Jane Godley was fantastic in talking about her cancer and made a point of explaining it very clearly to women what to look out for. R.I.P. Janie. Yeah, Jane Godley was. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So that I find that more inspirational, even though I don't have cancer. Touch wood. I find that story more because she did. It was a Cancer in Me. The podcast that she did, raising awareness, and Mike is doing the same thing. Mike's putting together a cartoon of his cancer kidnapping, a cartoon book. I don't know if it's going to be memes or it's actually going to be published, but it's really good. He's put like 5 panels up. You can follow him on Facebook on Trumpton, so just look up Trumpton and press follow, and you'll be able to see what he's creating. Gillian Hope. It killed my dad. One of my children has been undergoing cancer treatment for the last 2 years. It's in remission now, thankfully. I'm really sorry to hear about your dad, Gillian, and I'm glad to hear that your kid's in remission there. Captain says, glad you didn't, Gareth. Sorry for your trouble. Yeah, Captain and Gareth. I'd like to repeat that. Basically, yeah. I'm glad you're still with us. Gillian, the early diagnosis saved my child's life for sure. Absolutely. Ruth is saying totally agree. Deborah James was an inspiration. Yeah, again. She did the Cancer in Me. Who did the Cancer in Me podcast? Someone needs to fill me in on this. I'm no royalist, but I definitely think that Diana will go public if she had my cancer. This is from Mike. Hi, Mike. How you doing? We're just talking about you. Your ears must be burning. And she'll get top fashion designers to put stomas in their collection. Yeah, that's very true. Good morning to Mike Dix from One Egg Pain. Morning, Mike. You were on form last night. Mikey sent you some my music. Yes, God, those shows on Friday night just absolutely descend into madness. They're brilliant. I just love them. They're just such a joy. It's just like no matter what's happening in the news or our lives, it's just like it's nice to just have, kick back with mates and just talk absolute bollocks live on YouTube. Kate feels. Sarah Davis says hi. Morning, Sarah. Peter says Kate feels she has to keep up the image of the pristine beauty. But I mean, Kylie did that. Angelina Jolie had a double mastectomy. I mean, she's still gorgeous. Like, I think you could do both. Angelina Jolie did it as a preventative measure because she had a history of breast cancer in her family, and she had a marker. She had a DNA marker that meant that she was more likely than not to get it. So she took proactive steps so that she wouldn't get it. As a teenager, says Paul, my mother and an aunt both died of breast cancer in the space of 4 weeks. Many years later, as a parent, my 10-year-old son is currently undergoing treatment for leukemia. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry to hear that. And all the best to your kid. I hope it all goes well with the treatment. Victoria Townsend, good morning, Graham. Kate is no inspiration. Janie Godley was an inspiration. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Gareth, I'm happily remarried. It's our 5th anniversary next month. Congratulations. Oh, that's awesome. That's great, mate. Thank you. I should have like a little awesome animation that comes up that says awesome. I'm glad you're still with us. And I think, I think your wife's still glad that, you're still with us as well. Witchy Goth, my dad passed with liver cancer 3 years ago now. He was so brave through the whole illness, but it is devastating. It absolutely is. Because it was put by Christopher Hitchens, who also was very open about his cancer. He talked about the fact that, he didn't live a particularly healthy lifestyle, and that might have probably did contribute to it. But I remember him talking in an interview about how cancer is like it's like the opposite of being pregnant. Instead of life growing inside you, it's death growing inside you, and it's your own body turning against you. And that's why, if you get a virus, you get a cold, you get COVID or whatever, your body does everything in its power to get rid of it. It makes you go really hot, makes you go really cold, makes snot come out your face, makes you cough. It's trying to get rid of those germs. It's trying to get rid of that particular virus, that invader. Whereas with cancer, because it's your own body making it, your body doesn't know to get rid of it. All your immune system looks at it and goes, no, that's perfectly normal. That should be here. And that's what's so devastating about it. And also, it's why it's so difficult to treat, because every single organ of your body can get cancerous, and there's different types of cancer that every single organ of your body can get. And they move at different speeds, and it's unique to you. It's absolutely unique to you. So building methods to immunotherapy is there's lots of R&D going into immunotherapy at the moment, because that will be giving tailored DNA based treatment to people, or based on their DNA, that their body will go, oh, hang on, this is a foreign invader. Okay, I need to get rid of this. I need to destroy this now. This horrible black stuff that keeps multiplying inside somebody. So the opportunity to look into cures for cancers, because there's lots of them. There's never going to be an all-encompassing panacea that cures all cancers. It's not going to happen. But certain cancers, we're getting to a point where we can treat them a lot more efficiently than we used to, a lot more effectively, a lot more people going into remission. And that's a good thing. However, fuck's sake, man, why haven't we nailed this by now? Like, seriously, why isn't there just billions of dollars being poured into cancer research? You think about how much the royals are worth. What is it, 56 billion? Is it? Does someone look at this? 56 billion pounds they're worth? Like, can they not put some money in cancer research? Why are cancer research asking for charity? Why are they asking for a couple of quid here and there of people like you and me, when there's these incredibly stupidly rich people in the world who could be donating literally half of their wealth? And I know that the wealth of the monarch is tied up with the crown estate, which is controlled by the government, etc. I know that. Yeah, I get it. But a lot more of their income, which they get from being terrible landlords, as was revealed by dispatches this year, a lot more of that money could be put towards research and development into cancer. But we're not. We're spending it on space rockets to send twats like Elon Musk and that Bezos creep into space. And Richard Branson, he can fuck off as well. We could go to space and be fucking Virgin Space rocket. Hey mate, why didn't you put like loads of money into cancer research instead? Why didn't you say, I could have launched a rocket, but this is more important? Because it is. It absolutely is. My only hope is the science on this develops faster going forward and becomes open source. Yeah, I mean, like I say, you've got three main ways of treating. Well, you've got four, I guess. You've got radiotherapy, chemotherapy, chemicals. You've got immunotherapy, and then you've got the final one, which is surgery. Just cut it out. And none of those will necessarily work in isolation. But it's the best we've got at the moment. But all I can think is, like, you look at America and how much money they've got to spend on R&D, and yet they're not allowed to use any government money with anything to do with stem cells. This is the rule in American labs, is that if you have any stem cells taken from an embryo, and an embryo that was taken out, not like an abortion, right? Slightly different, like an embryo that was made using IVF, treatment didn't take or whatever, it wasn't put in the woman, because they make multiple embryos. They put multiple, when you go through IVF, they put multiple embryos inside you to make sure, hopefully one of them will take. That's a horrible way of putting it, but that's kind of the process. If you have anything that's got anything to do with that side of the research, it has to be privately funded. It can't be funded by the government. But what it means is you have to have two sets of scientific equipment in the lab. The stuff that you're allowed to use, that's been privately donated, that you're allowed to use with stem cells, and the stuff that you aren't. And stem cells could lead a way to not just cracking lots of different types of cancers, but also cracking things like Parkinson's as well, and Alzheimer's. And The fact that the Christian right in America are stifling research into these matters, driving up the fucking wall. I mean, it is a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace because of their mad beliefs that, I don't know, it's sent by gods, to test our faith or some such bollocks. It's not great. It's not great. NHS bowel cancer screening saved my life, says Richard Bird. People said, that was Deborah who did Me and the Big C podcast and the Fuck You Cancer book. Victoria Townsend, I get fed up when royals do nothing to inspire me whatsoever. When they do something, people start crawling and doffing their caps to these very rich and privileged people. You're not wrong, Victoria. Blue Badger, morning all, running later. How we doing? We're talking about cancer. Merry Christmas. And raw garlic helps if you have no money, says Kai. Thanks for that. What if you have no garlic? It is coming. Autoimmune is imminently a serious focus in the next 20 years, says Donkey. Yeah. I mean, it works. The proof is there that we can actually treat cancers like this. I mean, not all, and it won't work for all cancers. It won't. It just like I say, there's hundreds of different types of cancers. And this is why people go, oh, a cure for cancer. It's almost as nonsense as saying world peace. I mean, okay, we might not have any active war zones, but there's still going to be people killing each other. Be more specific about what you mean in your dreams, in your aspirations. It's because actually to cure cancer, it's almost impossible, says Ian. Yeah, it goes into remission and it can come back. A close relative of mine had a cancer, which, hopefully has been treated. But he has to go back every year to get scanned again to make sure that it hasn't come back or spread or anything like that. At least Branson made his own money. I'll give him that at least. Did he, Gareth? Or is he on my private school mafia list? Anyway, moving on. Ironically, my other cancer, leukemia, they're like Pokemon for me, is in remission. The drugs I take for that cancer cost £143 a pill. Perhaps that's why a cure is slow coming. Yeah, some people are making a lot of money out of this. One of the most disgraceful episodes in the war on cancer, and you could talk about the war on viruses in general, the war on disease, is when people are on the side of the disease, they're on the side of the cancer, and they seem to want to do things to make sure that people get cancer because they feel like some people deserve it. And I'll point you to about 15 years ago now. It's a while ago. It was when the HPV vaccination first came out, and it was being given to 12 and 13-year-olds, girls, in school. I think it's given to girls and boys now, but it was given to girls at the time. And this would be a way of stopping development of a particular type of cervical cancer, which is which is caused by the human papilloma. Am I saying that right? It sounds like a fucking dessert. Human papilloma virus. Someone's going to correct me in the chat there. Graham, pavlova is a dessert. The HPV vaccination was being given out, and there was a head teacher of a private school in Derby or Northamptonshire or somewhere posh, who actually said that she didn't want the girls in her all-girls school getting this vaccination because she felt it would make them promiscuous. Just think about that for a moment. Just think about how fucked up that is on so many levels. This is a school head teacher who believes that the punishment for having sex and enjoying sex should be death. Yeah, thanks for that. And the thing is with HPV, it's often it's transmitted by a man who has it, that they have it and they don't know because they get no symptoms, and they pass it on to a woman. So you could have a woman who's completely, a virgin till she's married, like they still exist, a virgin till she's married, and then, completely faithful to her husband, but her husband's been around the block a few times before they got married, and gives her these cells that can this virus that can turn cells cancerous in her cervix. And you're like, my God, seriously? This is the world we live in? But it is. And so there are people out there who are like, no, I don't want research into cancer. Thank you very much. I want my millionaires wasting their money on space rockets that explode instead. Or wasting taxpayers' money in the case of Musk, wasting taxpayers' money on rockets that explode. Unbelievable. But yeah, a cure for cancer is like a cure for viruses, says Katrina. Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. Billy Kershaw said they'll be the first to have woke penicillin. Yeah, we talked about penicillin being woke last night. Sabine says, hello everyone. I had surgery a year ago for breast cancer. The 5 months of chemotherapy and radiations. I'm okay now. I have to go to the hospital for controls every 6 months. I'm glad you're okay, Sabine. It sounds like it's in remission, which is great. And I hope it's, I echo Captain's words, that I hope it stays that way. Was this a religious school, or was the head teacher was religious? I don't know. It might have been Victoria. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to look up the news story. I just remember, and like I say, this is many years ago, I just remember being so shocked and horrified. And I think it was around the time that my sister had just died of cervical cancer. So like I was particularly prickly about it. And because people in my life have been so affected by the diseases such as measles, my partner is deaf because she got measles as a 4-year-old. You speak to her, she doesn't sound deaf. She doesn't talk like what you would expect a deaf person to sound like, but she is profoundly deaf. She doesn't have a hearing aid in. She can't hear anything at all. And it affects our everyday lives. We can't just do the things that we want to do. We couldn't go and see Moana 2 at the cinema because there were so few showings, subtitles. We wanted to take the kids over Christmas, and we just couldn't go. We just couldn't go because Catherine would have to sit there for 2 hours in absolute silence. It's bad enough trying to read lips in a movie when the characters are human and facing you in an animation. Good luck with lip reading in an animation. It's even worse. You got to try and suss out what they're saying and work it out from just the context of the what you actually see. And it means that we can't go to comedy nights. It makes it difficult to go to quiz nights. It makes it difficult just to have a night out. Just to have a night out, because Catherine will be, after a couple of drinks, it becomes even harder to lip read than it already is. If we're in a noisy pub, even with her hearing aids in, she can only hear like certain frequencies. And she ends up, we're sitting around the table all laughing and joking like we do on the Friday night social, telling jokes and taking the piss. And she's sitting there in absolute silence and can't follow the conversation. Everyone's laughing and she doesn't know why they're laughing. And that happened because she got measles as a kid. She couldn't be vaccinated because there was a worry that she'd be allergic to one of the ingredients in the vaccine. And because other parents didn't vaccinate their kids, there wasn't enough herd immunity to stop her getting measles. And that's impacted her for the rest of her life. And so for me, who both has a particular relationship with vaccines and with my alarm's going off. It's telling me to shut up. Someone who has a relationship with vaccines and with that particular type of cancer, cervical cancer. And don't forget, the HPV vaccination has been, oh my God, it has been remarkable. Yes, it has stopped that particular kind of cancer in its tracks. And now women in their 20s and early 30s who had the HPV vaccination years ago are not getting cervical cancer at the same rates that women were before. Nowhere near the same rates, which is remarkable, wonderful. It's fantastic. It's a scientific miracle. And yet there are people out there who say no, because it means that it'll make the girls promiscuous. Oh, fuck off. Anyway, so moving on. Was this religious school? I've read that. Captain says, my friend passed at 20 in 1993, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. They can cure it now, but not then. Means things are getting better. Yeah, they absolutely are. If you need to shit on space stuff, but do, because it's mid. I just don't think it's a priority at the moment in the world that we live. We really need to be prioritizing, I feel, And, it pissed me off in the past when we say, why are we sending people to the moon when there's people living in poverty? And I did get that argument. However, the technology that going to the moon achieved meant that people were lifted out of poverty all over the world. And don't forget, in the last 30 years, we have seen the biggest elevation of people out of extreme poverty all around the world. We've seen the biggest elevation in literacy rates, in longevity, all around the world. Like, this isn't just in one country or one particular place. It is an absolute miracle. The last, even my lifetime, so 45 years, it's been an absolute miracle on how much these countries around the world have just improved the living standards for the people who live there. And you might scoff at that if you've ever been to the Philippines, if you've been to Egypt, if you've been to India, and you're like, oh, Graham, what are you talking about? People are still living in slums. Yes, they are, but they're not dying at the rate that they were, because we've got things like vaccinations, we've got medication that's cheap and effective. Like, millions of kids were dying of diarrhea, which is a really easy thing to treat. You just need a sugar salt solution, you need an electrolyte solution, and it can save a child's life. And they're only getting it because of dirty water. Alleviating that strain, malaria as well, and begrudgingly give Bill and Melinda Gates, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, some kudos for this. But finding ways of stopping malaria from spreading. Malaria, huge killer of people, especially children. Then you've got someone like Elon Musk, who has all this money, spends it on space rockets, and actually jumped in last week at Christmas time to take $190 million away from cancer research for kids. So that happened. And he's going to wonder why people will, hate him and spit on his grave and dance when he's gone. His kids are going to have to see that. I swear to a non-existent deity, I will remember this starts at 9:30 one day. Yeah, we've only been doing it for like a year and a half. One I'm paying, Graham eloquently describing why I consider most, not all, I'm not an absolutist, conservative philosophy to be downright dangerous. Yeah. Charities are facade now, says RJ. Not all charities. I mean, look, they do some good, but I think that the way we approach charity, not charities necessarily, but charity in general, needs to change. It's daft the way that we help people in countries. I'm very much, and I've spoken about this before on this channel, and my opinion on it, I'm very much with Rory Stewart. Just give them money. Just people who are poor anywhere in the world, who have a business, selling stuff at the side of the road, just give them money. Don't build a fucking daycare center for them. They don't need it. Don't build a bridge. Don't build necessarily a toilet block. Let them build their own stuff. That's what I would say for people who want to help in developing nations. Give them what they need to build their own stuff. Don't build it for them. Because if they build it for them, it's like getting a present. You're not going to appreciate that present. You just don't. As much as you would appreciate something that you worked hard for and you saved up for and you got yourself. I know from my own personal experience, I've appreciated gigs and festivals more that I've actually had to save up to go to, rather than ones that I've just been given a guestie to that I've not been that arsed about going to. Mike Dix, thank you very much for the £2 super chat, mate. That's very kind of you. Thanks for talking about this. You are very welcome, Mike. So someone's got to do it. And Mike, if you will, I know you're getting treatment next week. After that, if we could do a special show, me and you just talking about this, I'd love to do that on this channel or one of your channels. So let me know, Mike. Give me a texty. Star says some people gave the same reason for not wanting gay/bi men to have the HPV vaccine as punishment. So wicked. Yeah, same thing happened with AIDS in the 1980s. They didn't want to do research into AIDS because they felt that it was God's wrath on drug addicts and gay men. How dare they have fun with their drugs and with their sex? Mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing that people think that the punishment for gay sex should be death. And they do. They absolutely do. Well, FIFA seem to, because they've given the Saudi Arabians the World Cup for 2023, which is nice. A country where they literally put people to death for being gay. One of New Labour's biggest achievements was 4 million out of poverty, says Gareth T. Yeah, absolutely. So did Kate have cancer? Yes, Kate, she's got it. She's absolutely. I don't think there's any conspiracy here. I don't think they're milking it for the sympathy, but at the same time, they could be doing better. That's the point of this. One opinion. Well, this might be a controversial opinion, but I actually see value in asteroid mining, less damage to Earth environments. Yeah, there's an argument for that, mate. Yeah, sure. I just think that at the moment, I think we should be prioritizing life on this planet before we blow rockets up into space, because don't forget the amount of greenhouse gases those things give off as they blast into space is astronomical, and Musk has been sending thousands of Starlink satellites up every day for years now on these rockets, which is just really, really bad for the environment. You think how bad flying is? Rockets are worse. More than all, it's really messed up. Congratulations. Oh, that's really messed up, Gareth T. Congratulations on your upcoming anniversary. Some capital, that's nice. And Gareth T. I'm part of the Salvation Army, and it's through a church. It's a charity, it's not run for profit. Even its head is on a worker's wage, which I agree with. I think, well, I don't know. I think that the head of a charity, CEO of a charity, can have a little bit more than the other people working for the charity, but only a little bit. When I hear about people in charge of a charity earning £150,000 a year, I'm thinking, do they justify that? Do they bring in enough charitable donations to justify that insane amount of wages when they are supposed to be a charity? But there you go. That's modern charities for you. Little Fat Furrow says the internet was the result of many people's work, including Vitten Cerf and Robert Kahn invented transmission control protocol / internet protocol. It's TCP / IP in 1974, which standardized how you share data between computers down a phone line. And Donkey says, "We don't build it for them. You're now edging closer to the see you next Tuesday Tory headmaster with I'm morally okay with XYZ. This is a good thing that I had to do it myself." No, I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying it like there was a case. There's a book called The Big Necessity by, I think, Rose George wrote it, and it's about toilets around the world. When I was traveling, I was raising money for WaterAid, and one of the points that Rose makes in her book about toilets is that a charity went into a slum in India. They built a toilet there, but didn't explain to anyone why it was necessary, why it was needed, why they should wash their hands after going to the bathroom, why they shouldn't just shit at the side of the road. And it was never used as a bathroom. It was used to put goats in the nighttime. Like, people just didn't understand what it was for because they'd never really experienced that life, that routine. And yeah, I there was it's tied in with this whole thing of not being this overbearing, what do you call it, like white the white savior complex that a lot of people in the West have. They go to Africa and go, I can save these people, and they don't necessarily need what you think they need. They need to get on with their lives and build stuff themselves that they want in their community, and just tear it up and saying, we're going to build you a school. There's not enough kids to go to the school. Where you got to get the staff to go to the school? I mean, it's just, these things have to be organic, and the best way to do it is just give people money. It's as simple as that. I know it sounds like really like, but surely it's more complex than that. No, seriously, just give people money, and then they can do stuff with that. Back to the Kate thing. 7,000 other women found they had cancer on the day she announced it. There was 6,999 other women who should have been fated for getting cancer notes. And Donkey also says SpaceX booster 33 iterated and now ship. What is 11? NASA could never have done this. NLG. I don't really understand what that means, but yeah, damn it, NASA, and that sort of thing. I'm joking. Never said it was a priority, but mid to long term, I think it's a worthy goal. Says what I paid. Yeah, I agree with you. I just think that the worry of climate change at the moment really has to take priority, because it's a sword of Damocles hanging over every single one of us. Billy Kershaw, we work with WaterAid to put water coolers into schools as part of the Children's Fund back in the Short Start days. Fantastic. And Little Fo, your argument is that without GPS we wouldn't have internet. What are you on about? Sorry, what? Sorry, what? Oh, we got Ian in the track. Okay, so Ian's turned up. Hi, Ian. How you doing, mate? Are you just disagreeing with everyone? It must be horrible to be wrong all the time. Anyway, so I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Mike for helping me with today's episode. I did talk to Mike before this to make sure he was comfortable with me talking about his cancer kidnapping. And yeah, hopefully we'll do a full show about this, talking about what Mike's been going through and also what to look out for yourselves if things are going wrong in your body and your body tries to tell you about it, the warning signs not to ignore. So we're going to try and be a little bit more helpful than the Royals have been, in our opinion. But until tomorrow, I'll be back at 8:30 for another 8:30. Screw that! It's Sunday. I'll be back at 9:30 for another episode of Morning Brew. No lie-in for me, no rest for the wicked. But thank you very much for joining us this morning, and hopefully it'll be a bit more of an uplifting topic tomorrow. But I thought this was important to talk about. So thanks for watching, and take care of yourselves and each other. Give us a like on the way out if you like the content, and until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.